so we can keep a record of who's all here. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of jump in. We're going to start with the new staff introductions. I don't know if there's any new hires out there or new employees we need to be made aware of. Nobody? Okay, so we're gonna move on. From my end, not a whole lot. There's an updated HON about the fungal meningitis from Mexico. The causative agent has been found to be Fusarium solani. And the CDC is kind of narrowing the scope of specimens there. They're trying to collect for this here at NPHL. We would be looking for patients who actually had a procedure done down in Mexico, who are having a CSF culture that grows mold. We sent out some information about that a couple of weeks ago. We'll probably send out an updated alert just so everyone's on the same page. DHHS and NPHL are going to be doing a Candida auris study. Has provided me some slides for that. So the purpose to assess and support current laboratory identification processes, specifically for C. auris in Nebraska. Still very, very low numbers of C. auris, almost zero coming out of Nebraska. So Nebraska Public Health Lab and DHHS are going to work on that. You'll be receiving, laboratory managers will be receiving an email with a survey in there, and it's just asking questions like, what do you use to identify yeast? Under which circumstances would you do a full identification on yeast, whether that be sterile source, what the criteria are there, and then those will be put together and shared. Here's some brief overview of some of the things we're going to be asking. Okay, and then I wanted to just kind of throw out kind of what's been going on with the carbapenem resistant study or collection that has been going on. Been getting specimens from all over the state, lots of specimens. We've accepted 322 specimens for testing just this year. Through all that testing, we've had 5 NDM positives, 3 OXA48 positives. We've had 2 specimens that were MSIM positive, but CARBAR negative. So those get whole genome sequenced, and they get a closer look to figure out what kind of mechanism is going on there. So there's a brief update there. And then next month, we're going to be sending out another communication drill. So keep your eyes out for that. We're trying to get responses within 24 hours of sending it out. That's something that we have to keep track of for the CDC. So any comments or questions? Perfect. NPHL client services issues. I am not aware of anyone under. If there was a representative of
no, I don't see anybody on here, Ben.
Okay.
From RPS.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of any issues as well. I think things are going pretty well. They certainly have a huge number of turnovers over there in RPS that makes life a little more difficult for us at times, but they've got a new not director, but what do you call it? Assistant manager over there.
Yeah.
He is learning the ropes as well. So I think we're all on the same page. It's just sometimes things don't work the way they should, but overall, I think it's working pretty well.
Agreed. for another month.
Yeah, yeah. And if we do have issues, we certainly want to know about them. And we
Yes.
can work with client services if there's issues that we need to work on, so. Okay,
Yep. Okay, so in the absence of client services issues, we move on to outbreak updates from the last meeting. And we'll just jump right in with Ishrad and the HAIAR program.
So, hey, this is Ishrat here. And actually, I was gone to an ARLN meeting with Ben. So Lacey was working, and then we identified many, like more than usual number of CPCREs, and then also a CREs case that we didn't identify, but it traveled, the case, the person traveled from another state and an inpatient right now. And then we did a screening and all the cultures were negative for CREs. And so the patient is in isolation. So that's all we know at this moment. And there were several other CPCREs that we have some isolated cases, and we did some screening around it with help of Minnesota Regional Lab. So that's the update I have as of today. So some of the things are still pending. And we also had a non-aeruginosa pseudomonas that we're working with Ben right now. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about it later.
say, Ishrat, could you give a real high level overview of your meeting in Minnesota?
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
Our LN meeting, and
Yeah.
kind of what was the outcome of that meeting?
Sure, definitely. So the meeting was, with APHL, American Public Health Association, CDC, Minnesota Department of Health, which is the ARLN Regional Lab, and with all the labs and APs of HAIAR program in this region. I can't remember, man probably remembers what's the name of the region. I think it's a central region. And there is Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, and then Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. So all the states are involved in that one. So it was like a 35 people. It was a very 2.5 days meeting. We talked about a lot of our grants and requirements, antibiotic susceptibility testing, CREs. This year, they specifically focused on a little bit on antifungal testing. And they are going to be very interested in not only the Candida ID, also Candida fungal testing, susceptibility testing for Candida. So that is one thing. And we also realized that although the labs statewide are doing the antibiotic susceptibility testing, it is also part of the grant and requirement for our Nebraska Public Health Lab to do some of the AST testing as well. So Dr. Ivan, I'll be talking to you about that just to see, how we are doing that right now, just so we have some information to share with them. And they want us to do whole genome sequencing again, that's one of the big requirements. And they want us to upload that information in NCBI, just so that we can find out how it's linked. So they want us to use that more often. And Ben has recently updated the method survey with CDC. So that was another thing that they were also focusing on. So basically, these are the updates, but yeah, fungal, what's the other one? Aspergilla, they talked about that quite a bit as well. But overall, it looks like the states around us haven't seen that many CREs, so we are pretty good with that. And also, they talked about wastewater surveillance. So I think we're on the right track. And my take was that we are doing better than some of the other states. We're ahead of the curve. And I'm going to have Ben actually share something that I probably missed, if that's okay.
Oh, that was.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think that was pretty comprehensive description of the conference.
Okay,
That's,
Yeah.
it's good. Thanks, Ishrat, and glad to hear that we're with the group or ahead of the group in some of the things that are being requested for the public health labs.
yes, yes,
And
and
we're
I
always-
can,
We're always there to improve if we can. But knowing where we're at is also good as well.
yep, yep, and I can talk to you later about it.
Sure,
one-on-one.
that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ishrat. We'll move on to COVID-19.
Good afternoon, everybody. So with the COVID, our cases and test number are going down. So our cases are averaging about 16 cases per day and about 400 tests per day are being reported to us. Hospitalization numbers are also going down and are in upper 20s now. So that's the brief update on COVID-19.
Okay, thanks. We'll go to, excuse me, Derek for RSV and flu.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Not a whole lot to report out for RSV or flu. Activity continues to remain low as we would expect for this time of year. One note, we are changing our cadence from our weekly respiratory report to a monthly report over the summer months while we tend to see low activity. And we'll pick up back to the weekly cadence at the start of next season during early October, or potentially a little bit earlier if we see any atypical influenza or RSV activity like we've had seen in the past 1 or 2 seasons with RSV. And just a reminder, if you see any positive influenzas over the summer, particularly influenza A, unsubtypable results, please get those to public health lab as it's going to be fair season with county fairs going on. We might have some exposure to swine, so just be aware of that. As always, if you have any questions about that, you can feel free to reach out to myself or Robin Williams here at the state, and happy to take any questions.
No questions. Okay, so move on to Brianna with enteric outbreaks.
Hi there, it's Brianna. For outbreaks, we're still having the multi-state salmonella backyard poultry. I feel like I say this every year, but it happens every year between about April and throughout summer. But people purchasing live poultry from feed stores and taking care of the cute little baby chickens and getting salmonella, unfortunately. So we're still seeing cases. I think we have about maybe 10 cases or so. I don't have an updated document in front of me. So, but just, reminder to make sure salmonellas, specimens or isolates are getting sent to MPHL. So we don't know until we have whole genome sequencing until they are linked to a multi-state outbreak. So we really rely on whole genome sequencing. And then also I wanted to make a segue here. We have a new foodborne and enteric epidemiologist, Claire Figge, and she is on these calls now, and I wanted to introduce her. So Claire.
Hi, thanks, Brianna. I am working alongside her. I just started last week, and I'm excited to work alongside all of you all.
Okay, nice to meet you.
So
Jeff?
just a reminder, Brianna, just to remind everybody, we need to make sure we get those positive cryptosporidiums and cyclospore stools sent to the public health lab. It's that season.
Yep, it is.
Hey, Brianna.
Hasn't.
Sorry, this is Christy Som from Bryan Medical Center. And within the last couple of days too, we've seen an increase in rotavirus in our elderly patient population. So I just wanted to say that's what we're seeing right now.
Okay. Then you have good relations with Lancaster too, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. And Allison is on this call too. She also does rotavirus. So thank you for noting that. And that's on, you guys use, how are you detecting the rotavirus? Is it the
Verigene.
panel? Oh, the Verigene. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Jeff and arbovirus.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I guess first, I'll start out just with tick-borne stuff. So we've been seeing, we use syndromic surveillance to kind of track in real time our tick activity because we can look for tick visits for tick bites and associated visits for that. And that has been really, really high over the last several weeks. A lot of visits going in for tick bite associated type visits. And now we're starting to kind of see our tick-borne disease cases kind of follow. We've had several tularemia cases come in. We just had a couple confirmed Rocky Mountain spotted fever cases as well. And then we over the weekend here, yesterday, we had 2 positive PCR labs on Ehrlichia chaffiensis come in. So the tick-borne diseases are starting to come in, and typically June, July is when we see most of our onset dates for tick-borne diseases, which kind of follows right after the kind of the peak of tick season. So we seem to be off to a pretty good start there. Switching over to mosquito-borne diseases. A lot of you probably saw that we did send out a HON for our first West Nile virus case in a patient, and we were able to get that specimen to be sent for confirmation testing by PRNT to CDC. So we'll be trying to confirm that hopefully here in the next several weeks when we get those results back. The other thing I want to mention is we will be sending out a HON here in the next several weeks. Again, letting providers and folks know that starting in July, suspected neuroinvasive West Nile virus cases will be able to submit CSF and serum for West Nile virus testing at public health expense. So just be on the lookout for that HON coming out here in the next several weeks. And I think that's pretty much it. Our mosquito surveillance is off as well. No current positive pools to mention at this point, but we do have more pools that we've submitted in the first 2 weeks than we did last year at this time. So a little bit higher the Culex population is right now, but that doesn't always equate to a higher risk of West Nile virus. So.
Say Jeff, you mentioned that there's been several tularemia cases. How have they been diagnosed? Because I don't think we've seen positive cultures, maybe one positive culture in the public health lab.
Those have been by serology.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Most of our cases, I think, get diagnosed by serology.
And how many cases, just off the top of your head?
2 right now.
Wow. Okay, it started. All right.
So, yep. And we did get some. We just got about the first third of our results from last year's tick surveys, and we had some positive Francisella, two subtypes in those samples. I think we had 4 or 5 tularensis holarctica out of tick samples, and 1 tularensis tularensis. And we've only gotten results back on 350 of our about 1,000 ticks we submitted last year from sequencing. So,
okay. All right, that is interesting. We did, just for your information, we are helping Kansas out testing, confirming Francisella tularensis is out well, and we had a positive from Kansas last week. So it might show up in your records, but that actually came out of Kansas.
okay.
Yeah. So.
All right, I have a call. Okay, I have a call with our regional group here later today, so I'll see if I'll check in with them, see if they.
Yeah, and if you need more information, just let us know here at the Public Health Lab. But it's that time of year, so.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll go to Kristen with the TB testing. She'll be with us today. Or is there someone who can comment? Okay, we'll have to wait till next month. The STD program, Dana. Looks like also not here. And then so we'll try with the lead testing.
Hey, it's Brian Coyle from the lead program. No report today.
Thank you very much, Brian. Biggest thing with the LRNB, like Jeff and Pete were saying, tularemia is on the rise. We're getting stuff up from Kansas. I know we've gotten at least 2 specimens from Kansas. But otherwise, Emily is not here today. She's usually our update on LRNB and LRNC. So we'll have to wait again till next month. Some laboratory training news. The Gram Stain Challenge is going to be going out in August to the labs that participate. And right now we're working with Ruth and Jamie in North Platte to put together a wet workshop at the community college out there. Sometime very soon, we're going to be sending out invitations to labs in the western part of the state. If you're close enough to North Platte, there are limited seats because of the size of the lab, but we'll try to at least save 1 spot for every lab that's out there. And then we're going to move that show back to Omaha a little bit later in September, so people who are kind of closer to us can also participate. We're trying to get out there and retrain everyone on rule out and refer. So that is what's new with the teaching side. And that's all I have. We'll open it up for any last comments or questions. Nope, very good. Okay, so now the DHHS people hang out, and if you're from the lab, thanks for joining us. But you are free to go.
Thanks, everybody.